One thing I've learned from driving is that people, when they're in an emotional state, they don't know how to react to the completely unexpected. So whenever I cut somebody off in traffic or somebody cuts me off in traffic and there's some kind of tension there, I honk my horn at them or them at me, there's always that real tense moment where they pull right up next to you. And when you're in that position, you just gotta know what they look like. And you're already mad, so you turn and you try and give them the stink eye. I've always found that the most effective strategy is to give them something that they're just not expecting. And I'll drive up, and as they see me, I just turn and go. And they'll look out at me and they're just like, and there's just this wide array of emotions that they don't know how to feel. I love it. Welcome to Rumble Book Club. I'm your host, Mike Hernandez, and this is the show where a normal guy like me can talk about interesting books I've read, old and new, good and bad. So if you like the show, you like the content, you like the books that I talk about, or maybe you just love the silky smooth sound of my voice, well, you've come to the right place. You can subscribe to this content on YouTube and Rumble, or you can follow us on TikTok, Parler, and Twitter. But more importantly, be a part of the conversation. Share these videos with your friends and comment down below. Let me know if there's any books you want me to cover or any topics you'd like me to get into. And I'll be happy to add any new books to the reading list and might even do a video and give you a shout out for recommending me to a good book. The whole point of this channel is to get people reading more, to get people more interested in reading a wide variety of books, and anything you can do to help that is mission accomplished. Today we're going to take a look at a hilarious book that I first got in high school, really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. Today we're going to take a look at Last Words by George Carlin. George Carlin was he was writer and actor, and most notably he was one of America's greatest stand-up comedians. I think to this day a lot of his works are actually in prominent places at local bookstores like Barnes & Noble. I know his book Brain Droppings has an abbreviated handheld version that sells pretty frequently off those front shelves at Barnes & Noble. His work is known even if you don't necessarily know his name. One of his biggest bits that tends to be integrated in a lot of different comedy in one form or another is the 7 dirty words, the 7 words you can't say on television. This book in particular is his final piece of writing. It was actually published a year after his death. He wrote it literally to his dying days. It contains some of his last musings and his biography from his own words, his autobiography. So let's take a look at the aesthetics. It's busy. It's a little flashy. I'm not a big fan of staring deeply into George Carlin's eyes when I'm just trying to read a book. But maybe that's the point. He was always a quirky guy, and I think he would enjoy the fact that he's leaving an impression by creeping you the heck out with his book. As far as sideways words, I'm not a big fan, but at least there's not an overflow of extra words, so not too big a fan of the cover. 5 out of 10. Now let's get into the readability. Carlin writes very conversationally. You feel like you're sitting across the table from him with a beer, just hearing him riff and talk about his life. It's a real good feeling when you read this. You feel like you're learning a lot about a very interesting guy. He's very precise with his language, and he doesn't waste words, which is a great combination. He's got very solid storytelling, and he moves easily from topic to topic. The pages are a little bit of an off-white with clear, large font and good size margins. So as far as the readability goes, perfect score, 10 out of 10. Now let's get into the content. Carlin tells his own story of growing up in an Irish Catholic family in New York, learning the roughness and unique charm of the city, and building his passion and skill for comedy. He talks about being a kid surrounded by natural humor and his classmates and the natural competition of young boys attempting to get the biggest laugh, that kind of one-upsmanship that we've grown up with our peers. He talks about his early career and his uncertainty in his original material. He grew, his earliest days were actually as a very, very, very gifted impressionist. So he actually had really dexterous mouth, capable of creating a lot of weird, quirky sounds that he actually trained as a kid growing up. So a lot of his early comedy started that way. So when he began actually building raw material that he released in the form of I believe the special was called AM/FM, something around those lines. That was actually a huge leap where he really wanted to stand on his own material, not just the impressions. What really makes Carlin stand out as a comic, and then what he really describes in this book, is that he has had an obsession and a critical eye for the use of language. It's what made him a brilliant craftsman of jokes and stories, and it's one thing that seems to be lacking in a lot of stand-up comedians today. He took some of the many phrases and words we take for granted in daily life, and he held them under a microscope. What he wanted to learn was the true meaning of the actual word, what that word originally meant, and then he looked and observed people in society and how we misuse them. One thing he abhorred that I actually admire was he abhorred people softening our language in an attempt to soften reality, which he knew wasn't possible and only obscured what we really wanted to say. In a way, he was a stand-up comedian version of Dr. Thomas Sowell, who I've done a lot of book reviews of. They had this similar view of language, how it should be used to get closer to the truth, not to obscure it. I think his final words really do prove his unique gift as a comedian. As far as the content goes, outstanding, perfect, 10 out of 10. I truly believe that Carlin was a genius of language and comedy, and his work continues to live and thrive by those who still appreciate life and the words that actually represent it. I found this book at Barnes & Noble. You might still be able to find it. I'm not sure if they've done a reprinting between now and when I got it back in, I want to say about 2010. But you should still be able to find it. If worse comes to worse, you can check Amazon and eBay. The book is Last Words by George Carlin. Go out and get yourself a copy. It's a hilarious, fantastic read. Thanks for watching, everybody, and go read something.